Hello, hello, hello. This is Sena, your resident DIYer at FlaVR, and today I am here with a very special guest. If you recognize his voice, you absolutely do not, and his name forever shall be known as Gospel. Say hello.
Hello.
All right, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Tell us who Gospel is.
Hi. Man, I'm supposed to have some kind of greeting, but I forgot it. But greetings, guys. Good friend Gospel here, Gospel of the Geek, and thanks for inviting me here.
Of course, of course. And today we are going to be covering some biblical subject matter. So, be ready to study, chat. We're going to be learning all about biblically accurate angels, or are they accurate?
Yeah, so take your Bibles out if you have them. or the Bible app if you have one.
Ooh. Is that better? I'll just put the mic closer to my face. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's get some music going and we'll get right into it. Are you ready, Gospel?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So, we'll go to the first slide then.
All right, so our topic is about angels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can just stay at the first slide.
Oh! Okay.
But you're good. All right, so a lot of people might be thinking that we're gonna be talking about biblically accurate angels, but I hate to be that guy. But I'm gonna be that, the actually guy from the meme, because I think that the biblically accurate angel meme is, well, biblically inaccurate, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm excited to learn why you feel that way.
Yep.
Now, my stance is, I don't really have a stance. I like seeing all the different art of this kind of stuff, but I don't really know. I feel like, the biblically accurate art, and even, the art we see in a lot of a lot of Catholicism and Protestant is just inaccurate in general. So, you know, it's going to be a worldly depiction. Why would it be accurate? But, yeah. Do you want to go to the next slide then?
Yeah, sure. So I have prepared this PowerPoint presentation, which I have titled PP Tenshi.
Why is it titled PP Tenshi?
It is a PowerPoint about angels.
Okay.
So
Okay.
1,000 points for whoever gets the reference.
Do not shatter my dreams. Yes, it's time to shatter.
Alright, so I have divided this thing into 5 parts. First off, we're going to go through what an angel is. And then we're going to go to cherubim. Or these are the most common types of angels.
Yeah.
Quote-unquote angels that we see in this biblically accurate angel meme. So we're going to go through those 3, and then we're going to go through the do not be afraid part of the meme.
Okay.
So we're pretty much breaking down a meme, which is kind of weird in itself.
So angels are memes in this context. Okay.
Okay, so I think we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah, so first, what is an angel?
I mean, it is what a disciple of God, a creation of God, right?
So for my presentation here, we're gonna go through just the biblical sources, okay? So a lot of the memes and the beliefs about angels come from secondary sources like angelology or demonology sources. We're just gonna go through the Bible. Okay. Since we're going for like something biblically accurate, we're just gonna go through the Bible.
Okay.
Sound fair?
Yeah, that's
Sound
very fair.
Okay. So we get the word angel.
Okay.
The word angel from the Greek word angelos.
Okay.
And this is the word that the Bible uses in the New Testament and in the Greek Old Testament, or the Septuagint. The Septuagint was the Bible that Jesus had in his time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is where we get the word angel.
Okay.
However, in the Old Testament, in the whole Hebrew Testament, the word for angel is malach.
Oh, interesting that it's different.
Yeah. It actually has the phlegm sound, malach.
Malach. Okay.
Malach.
Okay.
So that's what the word angel is in the Old Testament, and it simply means messenger.
Okay.
Okay, I think.
Would you say that separates the type, or would you say that means that they're completely different?
And we'll go through that in a bit.
Oh, okay.
So actually, another fun fact here is that this is where we get the word gospel.
Okay.
The Greek word for gospel is a euangelion. The Greek word for good, and angelion, message, or news. So the gospel is the euangelion, the good news. That's where I get my name.
Oh.
And that's where the anime.
I was about to say Evangelion.
Neon Genesis Evangelion, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. So they really
it's
just
also
named
about,
themselves Neon Genesis Gospel.
Yeah. It's a bit like a good news that angels are invading the earth.
Oh.
So
I mean, not in that anime, it wasn't good news, but
it was just kind of weird. They named it good news. They named it gospel.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so angel simply means messenger. It is more like a job description. It is not a description of a type of entity or a species or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So even humans can be called angels. So give me 1 second.
Sure. Oh, that's interesting. I guess I'll read chat for a second. I want to know about Samwell. I mean, we could always do some form of deep dive at another point as well. Hi, Sena. Like Vikings. Hi, Eric.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Do you
So yeah,
remember where you left off?
yeah.
Okay.
The word angel just it's a job description. For example, I think you can go to the next slide here.
Sure.
I should have that slide open, but I don't. Okay, there. Joshua 6:25. So the background of this story here. This is just a retelling of the fall of Jericho.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So it's just telling it's retelling what Joshua did. And you
Sure.
can see I highlighted the word messenger.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. But Rahab the prostitute and her father's household and all who belonged to her, Joshua saved alive. And she has lived in Israel to this day because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho.
Now the word for messengers here is malak. I think you can go to the next slide.
Okay. But Rahab the prostitute and her father's household and all who belonged to her. Yep. And then it goes, and she has lived in Israel to this day because she hid the Malachim who Joshua sent to spy out Jericho.
So if you understand Hebrew, not that I understand Hebrew, but when
understanding there.
when you see the word im or like the suffix im, it just says that it's a plural word.
Oh, okay.
So when you add m to something like face, is anyway. Just adding m makes something a plural, basically. So it's saying they're calling these messengers or the spies that Joshua sent out as malakim or angels, but for some reason we translate it as messengers, even though it's the same word. Yeah.
Huh. So it's almost like picking and choosing. That's interesting.
Yeah, kind of like that. And if you even one of the authors of the Old Testament can be considered an angel. Do you have an idea?
Would it be Elijah?
What is the last book of the Old Testament?
Oh shoot. Okay. I have my Bible right here. Oh, Malachi. Yeah, because
Malachi, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So Malachi can be considered an angel. In fact, some people think Malachi might have been an angel or what. But I think he's a human being.
Yeah, probably.
But Malachi simply means, I think you can go to the next slide.
Sure.
Malachi means my angel. And the book kind of gets its name from Malachi 3:1, which I don't have it on the slide, but it's simply God saying that he's going to send his angel, his malach. He's Malachi.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
It is a lot harder to flip through a tiny Bible in the dark. Okay. Have chapter 3 open. You said 3:1?
Yep.
Forgive me, it is KJV. Okay. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to this temple, even the messenger of the covenant whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, said the Lord of hosts.
Yep. And some Bibles will translate that to angel instead of messenger. So in some versions you'll say angel, some versions you'll see messenger.
That's
so what's up with that? Yeah.
I didn't even realize that Malachi meant that. I always really liked the name Malachi too.
Yeah, it means my angel.
My angel. How sweet. I love that.
So if you can go, I think we can go to the next slide here.
Sure.
This is my first problem with the meme. Some angels are human.
Oh gosh. I can see how that becomes a problem.
Yeah. But just because some angels aren't human doesn't mean some other angels aren't. But again, like I said, the word angel is just a job description.
Interesting.
Angel is a messenger of God. So humans can be messengers of God, and some other beings can be other messengers, which is, I think we can go to the next slide here.
Sure. We've got Hebrews 13:2. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares.
So, some angels can be humans. This verse is kind of vague. You don't know if he's talking about humans or if he's talking about something spiritual. But the thing to note here is that you can't tell the difference, right? you don't know if it's a human being or if it's an angel. So this brings my next problem. I think you can go to the next one.
Sure.
Apparently, they look like human too. So whenever an angel appears in the Bible, it looks human. They don't have wings.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have extra heads or extra limbs, and they don't look scary.
Yeah, because
As
like
a-
I feel like the fear is more like a presence, right? Like feeling that spiritual presence rather than being afraid of what they look like.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we will touch that too later on, but it's kind of like that. So
Yeah,
some
because they don't
examples, yeah.
record seeing things when they appear, and I would be very shocked for them not to be like, this angel appeared
Mhm.
before me and it was covered in eyeballs. Because like, why wouldn't you write that down? So that does
And
make
we'll
sense.
we'll go there too when we touch the cherubim,
Yeah.
the cherubim, seraphim and stuff. We'll get to that. But the many examples where you see angels appearing in the Bible, like for example, one of the first examples I have here, I don't have it in the slide, I think, but in Genesis 18, this is the story of Abraham, where he is visited by 4 men, and they're revealed to be angels, but they look like men. And 3 of them head out to Sodom and Gomorrah, and they look like human, so much so that the people there want to have their way with them.
Yep.
So they do look. I don't think
Yep.
you'd want to do funny stuff to something with many eyes or wings and.
I mean, there are freaks out there, but I don't think so.
So
Oh,
yeah,
God. Ooh.
another example would be Judges 6. This is the story of Gideon. So the background here is Gideon is hiding from the Midianites. He's farming in this cave area thingy. He's hiding, and an angel comes before him, and he doesn't realize it's an angel until the angel vanishes. So he just interacts with it like it's another human being. And
See,
and
I feel like I hear a lot of stories even from other people like now who are like, I interacted with someone and we had like the most pleasant conversation. I felt a connection, and then I looked behind me and they were just gone.
yeah,
And it definitely makes me think,
yep. So you can't really tell a difference from an angel and a person, basically. Which is why Paul says you must treat everyone nicely, because you don't know who you're
You
who
don't
you're
know
dealing
God's
with.
spying on you. Oh yeah, no, that's a fair take though.
Now, one of the biggest things people might argue here is that, or they might not like with here, is that angels don't have wings. And angels are always depicted with wings, but in the Bible, you never see an angel sprouting wings.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
see them flying. You will see them flying.
And I think that's probably why they assume wings, right?
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, I agree. Because a lot of the angels, different types even or whatever, like a lot of them don't have wings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they have wings, then you'd know there's something.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a man
But
with
you-
wings. Then it's not a man. Yeah, no, that's fair.
So I think we can go to the next slide here.
Yep. Ah, yes, cherubim and seraphim.
How about the cherubim and the seraphim? Yeah, that's a big thing, and we'll get to there. But I think mainly the biggest issue with this angel thing is the literary or the wording.
Yeah.
A lot of people have used the word angel, as like an umbrella term for all these fantastic beings you see in the creature. And I will show you, or at least that's what I hope to show, is that the cherubim and the seraphim are not angels.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That must be probably very shocking, but that is my thesis here, and I'm trying to prove it.
Yeah. I'm down for that. Yeah. Okay. Let's see
Okay.
if you can convince me.
So the biggest issue again is the term angel. So if you want to show the next slide. Yeah, okay. Yeah, malak is a job description or a title. It's not a type of entity. So humans can be malaks, and other entities can be malaks. And we'll learn later of another malak that's very special, but we can go to the next slide here.
Sure.
Okay. So this is a very important verse for our lesson today.
Okay, I'll read it. For
This-
sorry.
I'm just giving a little background here.
Sure, go
This
ahead.
this chapter is about the creation of man, and potentially even about maybe a little background on the story of angels too. So you can go ahead and read this.
Okay. For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor.
So this is the KJV. And you'll see that I highlighted the word angels.
Yep.
Let's go to the next slide.
Yep. Ooh, the LXX. What is that?
Yes. So the KJV got this from the LXX, which is the Septuagint. It's just the shorthand for the Septuagint.
Oh, okay, okay.
The Septuagint uses the word angelos
Interesting.
for whatever reason. But if you're to read the original Hebrew, which we can go to the next slide.
Sure.
Oh, this is the ESV. So in the ESV, it translates. So the ESV doesn't use the LXX. It uses It uses older text. And instead of using angels, it uses the word heavenly beings.
Interesting.
So what do you think the word is being used here? It is not malak. That's for sure. It is not
It's
malak.
not? Okay. Interesting.
It is not malak. So if you go to the next slide,
Oh, wow.
the word is Elohim.
Yep, and that's God's. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very interesting. The word that has been translated for most translations as angels is actually gods.
Ooh.
So the verse says
okay.
he was made a little lower than the gods.
As
Yeah.
and he as in man or
The man.
okay.
So man was made a little lower than the gods. So here's my thesis here.
Okay. I think it's getting big. Okay. Next slide then.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, these things which we call as biblically accurate angels are not angels, but rather gods. So there are actually many gods. There are many gods in the Bible, and some we also read God's name as Elohim. Like some translations translate Elohim into the big G God.
Yes.
But we can easily tell it's not easy for us, but in context, if it's talking about multiple beings, then you know it's gods. If it's talking about a single being as Elohim, then you know they're using the plural of majesty. Because that's why God is called Elohim. They use the plural word for gods on God just to show that God is greater. And I think a lot of Christians are afraid to embrace the fact that there are many gods out there.
Oh yeah.
Since we're supposed, yeah.
I would say that's true. Yep. I mean, chat's spamming right now.
Since we're supposed to be monotheists.
Right. And
But
I
when
think
you
maybe in service, if it's to monotheism, it's still there. But...
Yeah, and it's kind of touchy, but there's only one Yahweh, okay?
Yes.
There's only one Yahweh. And if you go to the next slide.
Sure.
See, okay. So Psalms 97:7 actually commands the other gods to worship God. So these other gods also worship God. All worshippers, you can go ahead and read it.
Yeah, sure. All worshippers of images are put to shame, who make their boast in worthless idols. Worship him, all you gods, or Elohim.
Yeah, the word there is Elohim. So it's basically commanding the other gods to worship gods.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that is very much like not a stretch. It's not a stretch to go, okay, well, angels have dominion over man. but now we're saying that these angels, the word is actually Elohim, which is
Mm-hmm.
God's. Like, that's not a stretch for me. I don't feel like that's too big a stretch. I think when we use the word God, we kind of reserve it for God. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's too big a stretch, because the angels in this context also have power and dominion.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, am I converted? No, but that does make sense. Logically, that makes sense.
Yeah. So you'll see. I didn't put them down since I didn't have a lot of time. But there are many verses comparing God to other gods. That that wouldn't make sense if other gods didn't exist, right? So if like for example a Bible verse is saying God is greater than Baal. So if Baal is just an imaginary figure, how is God great? Anyone is greater than Baal if Baal just imaginary, right?
Right, right.
So here, so in the Old Testament writers' minds, this is another problem since we're not Old Testament people and we're kind of removed from their imaginations. But when they're comparing God with other gods, they actually believe those other gods exist. Otherwise, the comparison wouldn't make any sense.
True, true. Very
And
true.
then, and we can, if we have time, we can go into a deep dive of why these other gods exist. But we might be pressed for time, so I guess we can go to the next slide here.
Sure.
So, the cherubim and seraphim are just other types of Elohim. Okay. So we can talk about the cherubim here for a bit. I don't think we can we don't have to go to the next slide here. All right.
Oh, someone's
Excuse
asking,
me.
is it pronounced Baal or Baal? I'm pretty sure it's Baal, but isn't in the Hebrew it's Baal?
It's Baal, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like there's the hyphen, not the hyphen, the apostrophe. So it's
Yep.
Baal. But yeah.
Yep. Oh, but
I'm
someone in
pretty
chat
used to
got it
calling him
too,
Baal.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we capitalize G and they're also small G's. Yeah, so when you capitalize G, you're talking about the big G himself, and then
The big G himself.
and they're also small G's, and the cherubim or the cherubim or cherubim are one of those small G's. They're like the umbrella term. The actual umbrella term is not angels, but the umbrella term would be Elohim, which God is a good translation for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some people think, or not really some people, a lot of people understand now that the cherubim don't look like these babies with wings,
Yeah.
but rather these weird creatures with multiple heads and
Yeah.
wings and stuff.
Yep, and if we look at a lot of other religions outside of Christianity
Yeah.
and even Muslim, because Muslim is very monotheism. If you look outside of that, and even Judaism, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the gods within those religions do look a little funky. So that makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. So if you can go to the next slide,
Sure.
I think. Oh yeah, this is one of the first mentions of cherubim in the Bible. We're gonna learn about what the purpose or the function of the cherubim is. So you can go ahead and read that if you want to.
Sure. He drove out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a flaming sword that turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life.
So as you can see here, the cherubim serves a function to guard the garden. So it is kind of like a guardian.
Interesting.
It doesn't say that it doesn't say that the cherubim is holding a sword. It just there's a sword and a cherubim. So the cherubim is not holding a sword.
That's interesting as well. Almost like
Yep.
there's just a flaming sword just
Yeah.
chilling there.
I don't know what's up with that, but whatever. It's a floating sword.
It's just an isekai at this point.
All
Yeah,
right,
no,
so
that's
if we can go to the next slide.
mm-hmm.
This is another mention of the cherubim. This is talking about the tabernacle, which is God's dwelling place on earth.
Yep.
And this is God telling Moses how to design the curtains. If you want to read that.
Sure. And you shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen. It shall be made with cherubim skillfully worked into it.
So
Oh, that's weird.
even in the tabernacle, they have cherubim or like art of cherubim woven into the curtains.
Interesting.
So just like in the garden, in front of the garden, you have a cherubim guarding the garden. If you're not familiar with the tabernacle, this veil they're talking about is the border between the holy place
Yep.
and the most holy place. So you have a cherubim between the holy place and the most holy place. So it's kind of like guarding the most holy place. If you want to go to the next verse
Sure.
or next slide. Oh wait, I didn't throw it in. Just go back.
Sure. Sure. Is there a verse you'd like me to look up?
Yeah, it's I don't have it written down. It's Exodus. It's just basically about, you guys are familiar with the Ark of the Covenant, right?
The Ark of the Covenant? I mean, I am.
Let me look up the verse. I thought I threw it in there.
Sure, go ahead. I'll have my Bible ready. I'm in Exodus right now, anyways. So
Exodus 25.
what verse?
Exodus 25. I think it's 25:18.
25:18. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold, of beaten work shalt thou make them into 2 ends of the mercy seat, which is
Yeah.
referring to the ark, right?
Yep, that's referring to the ark. So the mercy seat is pretty much the covering of the ark that's on top of the ark, and they have, that's where it's called the mercy seat because that's where God is supposed to sit.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And these cherubim are on both sides of the mercy seat, so they're guarding God. So they're kind of like guardians. So are you seeing
this is like the second time we've seen them used in like a place of a guard
Yeah.
as like almost like a sentry of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. And we can go to the next slide.
Sure.
Now this one here is the one most people are familiar with. This is the vision of Ezekiel. So this is where a lot of the previous verses don't really describe the cherubim, but Ezekiel goes into a lot of detail describing what the cherubim look like. So this is the story pretty much. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
The background here is that Ezekiel is in Babylon. Ezekiel is in Babylon, and while he is in Babylon, this is during the captivity, he receives a vision, and he sees the throne of God coming down. And you can just read this verse.
Okay. As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of the fire, as it was gleaming metal. And from the midst of it came the likeness of 4 living creatures.
So Ezekiel doesn't realize it now, but 9 chapters later, if we go to the next slide.
Sure.
Okay. You can go ahead and read it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm like,
No, you're good.
These were the living creatures that I saw underneath the God of Israel by the Chibar Canal, and I knew they were cherubim.
So he realized that they were cherubim. So
Interesting.
we'll go later more into the setup of what's going on here, but basically these things are carrying God's throne. That's why it says they're underneath God. So these cherubim were carrying God's throne. And another interesting thing to take away from here is that this is during Babylonian captivity. What is God doing in Babylon? So God travels all the way from Jerusalem on his chariot to Babylon. And we'll go more into this when we talk about the Ophanim, but we're seeing a pattern here. These cherubim hang around God's throne, and they have some kind of like guardian type duty. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we go to the next slide, I think it's important to understand here that uh, all these things didn't happen like in a vacuum. God didn't just infuse like the prophets with. So inspiration doesn't work like demon possession, okay? Inspiration doesn't work like demon possession. Like the Holy Spirit doesn't fall on a person and they start writing down the Bible.
Right.
God works with a person throughout their whole life. And they get inspired to write stuff down, but they're not like possessed by God. And
Right.
then they start
It's a
writing weird stuff.
divinely inspired type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So the Bible is a work between God and man. So God commissions the Bible, human beings write it down, and their writings are influenced by their neighbors. And we will see that the cherubim is influenced by something that their neighbors and the Israelites themselves would have been super familiar with. You can go to the next slide.
Sure.
Oh yeah, this is an important thing to remember. The Bible was written for us, but not to us. So the Bible was written with us in mind, but it was written to a different people that are not us. So it would be weird if the Bible was written in language that we would understand. Like for example, if God threw in quantum mechanics in the Bible. If God threw in quantum mechanics in the Bible, it would just be gibberish to the people, to the ancient Israelites. So God had to come to the ancient Israelites at their level, in a way that they would understand. So if God came to them telling like there are 9 planets out there and this is how gravity works, it would just fly over their head. There's a message that God wants to send them, and he uses what they understand to understand that message. Okay?
Okay.
So with that in mind, we can go to the next slide.
Sure. Tommy asks, why
Yeah.
do we reference the Judeo-Christian God as God and not Yahweh? I think that's probably just because, just like language in general.
It's a lot easier, and
Yeah.
another thing about so the Jews even to this day do not want to pronounce that word.
Yeah.
They think it's taking God's name in vain. So it's kind of weird.
Some people
it's
do
kind
think
of
that. Yeah, I've heard that.
it's become like a swear word. Are you like the R like
Yeah.
the R word? The R word was supposed to be a safer way of saying idiot. But now the R word is now offensive too. Like idiot was offensive before, but now the R word's the one offensive. So in so yeah, Jehovah was kind of so God's name is YHWH, and which a lot of people understand now as Yahweh. But they didn't want to pronounce Yahweh because they thought that would be taking God's name in vain. So they invented this word,
God.
which we now think is Jehovah, but actually it is Yahweh with the vowels of Adonai. Adonai means Lord. So they have the vowels of Adonai, and the consonants of Yahweh, but the vowels of Adonai.
Gotcha.
That was just like a reminder for them to read Adonai instead of Yahweh.
Gotcha.
It wasn't a real word, but it was like an invented word to remind them not to say Yahweh. But when the translators later on read it, they read it as Yahovah. Yahovah, because it's like Yahweh with the vowels, with the vowels of Adonai, and that's how that became Jehovah. Jehovah was like a, and that's where we get Jehovah from, Yahovah.
Oh, this is like a game of telephone.
Yeah, it's just a way not to pronounce God's name,
Gotcha.
basically.
Interesting.
Yep. All right, so we can go to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
This here is a lamasu. This is something that the ancient Israelites would be very familiar with.
What am
This
I
thing
looking
here,
at?
this thing here is a Mesopotamian god. It's a protector god.
Okay.
You usually find them in pairs, protecting a throne room or protecting a sacred space. So when the Israelites read the descriptions of the cherubim, in the Old Testament, this is the kind of imagination they would see.
Interesting.
They'd be seeing these creatures protecting God's throne. So these are like protective. they're, they're like protective spirits. Yeah. They're like protective guardian spirits.
Man, like I
So
said, a little funky.
But yeah, you can see that they've got a human head with wings and an animal body. Kind of weird, like the cherubim.
I mean, I guess it makes sense if this is, you know, even close to the depiction that they couldn't hold a flaming sword.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, this is basically what the
faces, wow.
the cherubim is.
Interesting.
So yeah, maybe you can consider that scary.
Nah, just a little weird.
Just a little weird.
Just a little weird. I can't imagine coming upon something like that and not just being like, huh, okay.
All right, so that's what the cherubim are. They are protective guardian entities that protect God's throne. We can go to the next one.
Sure.
The seraphim.
I like the seraphim.
The seraphim. So, the seraphim are really cool, but they only appear once. They only clearly appear once. The others, like they're overtly presented only once in the Bible, and that is in Isaiah 6. I think I have the verse next.
1 through 2. Would you like
there.
me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew.
I should have added the next verse.
Oh, I can pull it up.
Yeah, sure.
Isaiah 6. Okay. And the 3rd verse is, and one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory.
There we go. So that is the only clear, or that this chapter basically is the only clear depiction of a seraphim in the Bible. So we got most of it right. It has 6 wings. And that's what most depictions have them too. They have 6 wings, 2 covering their face, 2 covering their feet, and then flying with the other 2. So it does seem like most depictions are kind of accurate.
Yeah, yeah.
But one thing to note about this verse here is their position. Their position on God's throne.
Yep.
So unlike the cherubim, which we see beside or underneath, we see that these seraphim, where are they located?
Directly sitting there upon his throne.
Above him stood the seraphim. So we have God sitting on the throne, and above him are the seraphim. So they're just flying there above God, and they're constantly praising him, singing and praising him. And I should have added what happened next here, but basically Isaiah realizes that he's in the presence of God. After seeing the seraphim, he realizes that he's in God's presence, and he is afraid. He is afraid because he's unclean, and that because he's unclean, he will be struck down dead. So one of the seraphim plucks up a coal from God's altar, because there's an altar in front of God. He plucks one of the coals, and with his bare hand touches it on Isaiah's lips, and then he says that Isaiah's sins are forgiven, or like he's basically cleansed.
Interesting. That's so cool.
So the seraphim are kind of creatures that hover above God, and they have some kind of cleansing function. They kind of cleanse things.
They can cleanse, and then they're just also like built-in praise at all times. Which is not a bad gig.
Yeah. And they're also associated with fire, which we'll see next if we go to the next slide.
Sure.
This thing is another thing that the Israelites would be super familiar with. The Israelites are pretty much Egyptian, since they were captive in Egypt for many years.
Oh, yeah, for centuries.
Yep. So they would be familiar with this figure. This figure is called the Uraeus. It is a serpent, oftentimes depicted with wings, and they are usually put above holy spaces. So like some kind of holy shrine or like a throne or something. They would have these things set up on top of it. And they also have this on the pharaoh's crown. So like on top of the pharaoh, you will see a Uraeus. That symbolizes their authority, and it also kind of protected the pharaoh. Interestingly, if you're done watching this pretty picture, these pictures are pretty good. Actually, I had a hard time finding this one, particularly with the wings and stuff. But if you go to the next slide,
Sure.
seraphim comes from this word, seraph. So, as a noun, seraph means serpent. But as a verb, when it's used as a verb, it means to burn.
And we do see, in Moses's story as well. Moses' story where serpents are used for good. So that's interesting.
As a matter of fact, that's what I have in the next slide, I think.
Really?
Yep, here.
Yep.
In Numbers 21:6.
And the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many people of Israel died.
Yeah. The word actually used there is seraphim.
Oh, gosh.
So, in the Israelites' imagination, it's kind of weird though, because as we read in the verses earlier too, that the seraphim does have hands and feet, so it's kind of weird. But we'll touch this on some more later too. But if you go to the next verse, we have another thing describing or using the word seraphim.
Okay.
Yeah. You can go ahead and read it.
Sure. An oracle on the beasts of Negeb, through a land of trouble and anguish, from where come the lioness and the lion, the adder and the flying fiery serpent.
And the word there is also used. The word used there is also seraphim. So it's very interesting how it's translated as seraphim in some places, and in other places it's translated as serpent.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So another thing to understand with these things is that when the Israelites thought about the cherubim and the seraphim, they understood they weren't thinking about something physical. They understood this as something spiritual. They did have these descriptions of snakes or weird-looking animals, but they had a deeper meaning to it, not just a physical appearance. It was supposed to convey something, and it's most obvious in the ophonym, which we will go to next. I think it might be the next slide.
Problem number 3.
Oh yeah, probably number 3. Yeah. The cherubim and the seraphim are not angels, because they are not messengers. As we can remember, the angel stands for, or the word for angel, malach, stands for messenger, and the cherubim and seraphim do not convey any message. Their duty is just to protect or cleanse sacred space. So we see them depicted in the tabernacle, protecting or in between the holy place, and in the most holy place, seated beside God. So they're not angels. They don't convey any message. All right, we can go to the ophonym.
Sure.
The ophonym might be the most mystical thing, and I think a lot of people will be disappointed about my take.
I might be one of them. I've always liked the idea of it.
Yeah.
And
It
I mean, as a little girl, I would have like a nightmare, right? I'd see my mom, and she'd be like, "Don't worry, Sena. There are angels about who have eyes within and without, and they will keep eye on you." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I mean, as a
and
kid, I
yeah,
was like, "Yeah, that's scary. I don't want to hear that. That makes my nightmares worse." But as an adult, I'm like, "Oh, that's nice. That's nice to think."
that's a very good thought, and that's actually the purpose of the Ophanim. That's actually their purpose.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
it might be a little disappointing to. Should we go to the next slide? I can't remember what
Sure.
the next slide was.
It's Ezekiel.
Okay, it's probably the verse about the Ophanim. Okay, let's go.
Okay. Now, as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel, Ophan, on the earth beside the living creatures, one for each of the four of them. As for the appearance of the wheels, or Ophanim, and their construction, their appearance was like the gleaming of beryl, and the four had the same likeness, their appearance and construction being, as it were, a wheel within a wheel.
So, if you continue reading, it will describe, like, if you want to read on your own time, but if you read Ezekiel, the rest of it, it will describe them with eyes all over. But basically, Ophanim means wheel. And if you read all over the Bible, you'll find Ophanim everywhere. Like, for example, the story of Pharaoh, where they chased the Israelites through the Red Sea, and their wheels get stuck in the mud, or something like that. It's the same word used here, Ophanim, wheels.
Interesting.
So we think that these Ophanim might be some spiritual or like amazing, godlike creature, but unfortunately, these are just wheels.
No!
These are the wheels of God's throne. They're
Okay.
not. They're not living things. As a matter of fact, if you read the rest of this chapter, they're distinguished from the living beings. So
Okay.
these wheels are underneath the cherubim. So here, if you want to picture this, the cherubim are carrying God's throne, and underneath the cherubim are these wheels. And these wheels are able to move anywhere. Like, that's why they're called a wheel within a wheel. It
You saying
describes
God's throne is like a wheelchair?
like they have omnidirectional wheels. Like this is before a time they had omnidirectional wheels, but this is what they're picturing. This is an omnidirectional wheel that can just go back and forth.
Oh, so
front
they
and
just
backward.
he's literally in an office chair is what you're saying.
Kind of like that. And they have eyes all over.
And the people of olden times were like, how? But they had eyes all over.
Yeah, they have eyes all over.
But they're
And
not sentient.
They're not sentient, they're just wheels. But this is to convey something very important. Do I have it in the next slide?
Potentially. It's just the do not be afraid next.
Oh, okay, let's just go back.
Okay.
I should have thrown this in here, but the purpose of the Ophanim is to convey to the reader that God is omnipresent and he is omniscient. So the wheels within the wheel concept means that God can go anywhere. For example, in this story, God is in Babylon. The Israelites, or most ancient peoples, believed that gods have a domain. Like they have a certain territory and they cannot leave that. You remember the story of Naaman, the leper?
Yes.
That was healed when he visited Elijah? Or was it Elisha? Elijah, probably.
It was probably Elijah, yeah.
After the whole thing, he asked Elijah for dirt. It's not a very popular part of the story, but he asked Elijah for dirt.
Yep.
The reason he asked Elijah for dirt is because he believed the Israelite dirt is the dirt that God could inhabit. Like, since God's had territory, that dirt was God's territory, so he can take God with him. Pretty much. But that's why he asked for dirt. But this is what the ancient peoples believed. Gods had territories. But this is showing that God's territory is everything. Like, he had wheels that can go anywhere, and in this case, God visited Babylon, even though he was supposed to be confined in the tabernacle over at Jerusalem. So God...
So it was almost like another display of power in
Yeah.
that regard. And, the people of old would have understood that a lot better than you or I. Okay.
Yeah, we're probably not seeing it this way, but this is what the ancient people saw.
Gotcha.
So God is, yeah. And the eyes all over means that God sees everything.
Okay, so it's more
Yeah.
of like, a metaphor, which, the Bible is pretty well known for doing.
Yeah.
Okay, always gotta talk in riddles. Interesting.
So these are spiritual things again. So a wheel within a wheel doesn't really work physically. But in a spiritual sense, it conveys the message that God is everywhere. Or that God can go everywhere and God sees all things.
All.
So
the thing
that
goes back into the omni of omnipresent, omniscient. Yeah, okay. All powerful, all knowing, all seeing. Okay.
So the thing that your mom said, they have angels everywhere with eyes all over.
That's just God.
Yeah, that's God. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So, so in this concept here, we see that the cherubim and the seraphim and the ophanim are conveying a message, a deeper message which the Israelites understood. Interestingly, the cherubim mentioned in Revelation look very different from the cherubim mentioned in Ezekiel. Because again, the author of Revelation is centuries removed from the author of Ezekiel.
True.
So the cherubim described in Revelation would have a different meaning to the people then too, or at least the description would have meant something to them there.
Yeah.
More so than the description of the cherubim in Ezekiel.
Yeah. Because
and it's also very
I guess that's kind of why they separate as Old Testament and New Testament. Even is that the meaning is kind of lost to the time at that point.
Which is why this is a very interesting topic. Like the meme itself is thousands of years removed from the source material.
Yeah, the "be not afraid" is
so
the of years. Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it.
It means different to us now. It would have not meant anything to them back then. Oh, another interesting thing is that during the time of Ezekiel is the Babylonian captivity, which is why the cherubim he describes looks like the lamasu, and the lamasu is a Babylonian thing.
So it's something they could recognize.
They could see, something they could recognize in their daily life. And the story of the seraphim, Isaiah, this is before the Babylonian captivity, and during this time, the Israelites were doing trade with the Egyptians. So the Egyptian symbolism of the flying serpent would have made a lot of sense to them too.
That makes a lot of sense of essentially having your text become syncretic in nature so as to kind of make it more understandable to the masses rather than just the Israelites. That makes sense for like a way of conversion, at least.
Because again, this was written for us, but not to us. It wouldn't have made much sense if God used like language we would use now.
True. Very true. Yeah.
So the last part of the meme, I guess, would be the "do not be afraid" part.
Sure.
So we can go to that.
Of course.
So why do angels tell people not to be afraid? If they don't look scary, if they don't have so we're talking about angels now, not about the cherubim and the seraphim, because we know that those are not angels. They're different types of entities. But whenever an angel appears to people, if they look human and don't have weird looking faces, why do they say "do not be afraid"?
Well, I feel like personally, any person who just pops up right in front of me is gonna be scary. You know what I mean? You're just kind of standing there, you turn around, there's a man, and you're like, whoa, what if he's wearing clothes that you don't recognize from a bygone era, and it's just like, hey, I'm gonna tell you about God and what he has planned for you. Like, yeah, I'd be a little spooked. But
so the reason why angels tell people not to be afraid is because of a single angel. There's this angel in the Bible that people do not want to see face to face. Yeah. And that one angel is called the angel of the Lord. every time the angel of the Lord makes scene or makes an appearance in the Bible, people get scared.
Yep. Very true.
So he looks human. He 100% looks human. Some people don't even realize they're talking to this angel. But when they do realize it, they get scared. So we talked about Gideon, remember? We talked about Gideon earlier. Like he saw, or like he met this angel and he didn't even realize it was an angel.
Yep.
That was the angel of the Lord. So we can go to the next slide, I think. All right, here.
Okay.
Judges 6:11. You can go ahead and read that.
Sure. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth at Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abizarite, while his son Gideon was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide the winepress to hide it from the Midianites.
The beating out wheat part sounds kind of weird.
A little bit.
But basically in this story is Gideon is hiding. We can, I love this story so much. I can rant about the story forever. But Gideon is pretty much hiding from the Midianites. And when the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon, if you read the next verse, the angel calls him a brave person, even though Gideon is obviously hiding. But here we see the angel of the Lord come before Gideon, and Gideon doesn't really realize it until afterwards. So I think I have the next slide.
Judges 6:21. Then Gideon perceived that he was the angel of the Lord, and Gideon said, "Alas, O Lord God, for now I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face."
So, this angel of the Lord has a really scary rep. When he realized that it was the angel of the Lord, so the angel of the Lord disappeared at this point. He disappeared. He performed a miracle. He created fire, and then he vanished. And then Gideon realized this was the angel of the Lord. So he was really worried that he was gonna die. If you turn to the next page. Next slide, I mean.
Judges 6:22. But the Lord said to him, "Peace be to you. Do not fear. You shall not die."
So it's actually God telling him, "Do not be afraid now." So God tells him, "Do not be afraid. It's okay. You're not going to die." So the reason why people are afraid of angels is because they might be meeting the angel of the Lord. Because apparently when you meet this angel of the Lord, you will die.
Yes.
So God actually has to come and assure Gideon that he isn't going to die.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the angel of the Lord is, if you read the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses, and you read Joshua and Judges, this angel of the Lord appears so many times. And even in Kings, you can see this angel of the Lord killing 186,000 people over a single night.
Yep.
So this angel of the Lord character is kind of scary.
Yeah.
And another story in Judges where the angel of the Lord appears is the story of Samson, but not actually Samson's story, but the story of his parents. So his parents actually meet this angel of the Lord character. They thought he was just a man of God. They didn't realize he was the angel of the Lord until afterwards. When they realized it, they were afraid they were gonna die. So we can bring the next slide.
And that's Judges 13:21.
Okay.
The angel of the Lord appeared no more to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was the angel of the Lord, and Manoah said to his wife, "We shall surely die, for we have seen God."
So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of, at least in the Protestant, I grew up Southern Baptist, and Southern Baptist, a lot of us believe that the angel of the Lord is Christ before
I was gonna go there.
to man. So I don't know what your take is on that, but I that's kind of what my line of belief is that it's Christ before he came down as man.
Yeah. So if you go to the next slide.
Sure.
Did Manoah and his wife see the angel of the Lord, or did they see God?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know with your stuff, having watched some of your stuff gospel, that there's the triune God, which is Christ, the Father, and the Spirit, and that, Christ was, obviously active before coming down officially through, Jesus. And so, yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
So let's go to the next slide.
But I would be afraid to meet Jesus too, so that's fair.
So the background of this story is God assuring to Moses that they're gonna do okay in the promised land. So you can read this.
Sure. This is
no, wait, no, sorry,
Sure.
I was far ahead. So this is the story of Moses in the burning bush. Moses in the burning bush. You can go and read it.
Oh, this is a good one. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses," and he said, "Here I am."
So, who was Moses talking to? Is Moses talking to the angel of the Lord or to God?
Yes.
So if we go in the next slide.
Sure.
This is God assuring to Moses that they're gonna do okay when they go to the promised land. You can read this.
"Behold, I send an angel before you to guard you on the way and to bring you to the place that I have prepared. Pay careful attention to him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he will not pardon your transgression, for my name is in him."
There you go. And I think I didn't add this, but earlier too, during the encounter with Samson's parents, Manoah, they asked the angel, like, "What is your name?" Didn't I put this down? What does the next slide look like?
The next one is another verse. It is Judges 2:1.
Okay, just go ahead and read that. This after they reach the promised land.
"Now the angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim, and he said, I brought you up from Egypt and brought you into the land that I swore to give to your fathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you."
So here now the angel is claiming things that God did. He's claiming for himself things that God did. So God brought him out of Egypt, and God made the covenant with him, and now the angel's claiming that he did those things. And what I was trying to say earlier about Manoah is when they asked Manoah, when Manoah asked, "What is your name?" You can go ahead and read it. It's in Judges 13. Let me look. Judges 13.
Joshua, Judges, Ruth. There we go.
18.
18. What verse?
13:18.
13:18?
Yep.
Oh, okay. 2 pages back. Okay. Oh. The verse is like right at the end of a page, so give me a sec to have it ready.
You're good.
Okay. "And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down."
No, Judges 13:18.
That's what I'm reading.
13:18?
Yes. Judges 13:18. Hold on.
Wait, you have it wrong?
"And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If ye had not plowed with my heifer..." You might be reading
14. Chapter 14.
Oh, you are so right. I am. Yep. Okay. "And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is secret?" Right.
Now, some versions will translate this as wonderful. My name is wonderful.
My name is wonderful.
Yeah, so that's one of God's names, wonderful.
Wonderful.
So like in Isaiah 9:6, wonderful counselor, the mighty God, all of that. So here we see that the angel presents a very interesting picture. Because the angel presents itself to be God. But God is also separate from the angel. So just like in the story of Gideon, the angel comes, disappears, and then God talks to Gideon. The angel is no longer there, but God is still talking to Gideon. So they're like separate entities, but they are both God.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which goes
even
into
in
that triune theory.
yeah,
Yep.
so that's where we meet this dude for the next slide.
Sure.
So this guy, he also claims to be God, but that he is separate from the Father. He says that he is distinct from the Father, but he claims to be one with the Father too.
Yeah, I and my Father are one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Jesus is not the Father, but Jesus is God. And just like in the Old Testament, God cannot be seen. God is invisible. If you look at God, you'll die.
Yep.
But you can but you can look at the angel.
Yep.
People have looked at the angel and lived.
Yep.
Or some people have died too, but
True. True. Although I will say that most depictions of Christ are probably inaccurate because
yeah.
the Bible was pretty plain that he was like not much to behold in his human vessel, that he was just kind of normal.
That's one thing that I disagree with.
You think so?
Yeah. You want me to go through my argument for that?
Sure.
I think Jesus was very handsome.
I don't know. I think he probably wasn't, though, so as to not be a stumbling block. You know what I mean?
So the verse which most people talk about, saying that Jesus was ugly, comes from Isaiah 53.
Well, I didn't think he was ugly. I just thought he was normal, average.
No, because the verse in Isaiah 53 says that there's no beauty in him. There is no beauty in him that we might desire him. But when we understand this verse is talking about this is a prophecy about the crucifixion. This is what happened to Jesus after he was crucified.
Well, obviously, there was definitely no beauty there. Oh gosh, except for like his love, but
yeah. But there are a lot of messianic, or there's this one messianic prophecy. I'll have to look for it.
Jesus wasn't buff. He was most definitely buff. I mean, he was traveling the land as a freelance carpenter, essentially. And living amongst the land. He was probably a very lean muscle.
Jesus was most definitely jacked.
Yeah.
You know, we use the word carpenter, but the word carpenter, the word they use for carpenter is actually, it means a tradesperson, or like a person who works they also work with steel and rock. So
yeah, I mean, he was doing like full-on manual labor. He wasn't just like building your mom's bowl set. Like, he was really
Jesus was a construction worker. He was a construction worker. Yeah. And if you think about it, this might just be me, but I think Jesus was ripped too.
Oh yeah, I think so. I don't think I don't think he was hot though. I just feel like he was just normal, you know?
Because he fasted.
Yes, he did. He fasted quite often.
Okay.
And he had that 30-day. Yeah.
So I let you read this first. So it's in Psalms 45, 6 to 7.
Psalm 45, 6 through 7?
Yep.
Okay. Let me make sure I am actually in 45, not 46. Okay. 45, 6 through 7. Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. Thou lovest righteousness and hatest wickedness. Therefore God, thy God, hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows.
So this is talking about God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Read verse 2.
Thou art fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. Therefore God hath blessed thee forever.
So if you can see in this verse, God is anointing God, basically, right?
Yeah.
If you read the last verse, it says, "Therefore God, your God, has anointed you." This is a verse about the messianic king who is coming, and it describes him as the most handsome of all the sons of men. So I do think Jesus was good looking.
I still at least think that he looked like another Israelite. I don't think he was like blonde hair, blue eyed.
No, Jesus definitely
Yeah.
was not blonde haired and blue eyed.
Yeah. I also think he was probably pretty dark having to live in the land. Like he was probably pretty tan.
Yeah,
So,
definitely no.
yeah.
Jesus was
He was
brown.
jacked and tan. So yeah, he was essentially Patrick Swayze, but like brown hair, brown eyes. But yeah, no, I think that's a fair take. I don't think he was ugly by any stretch. I just thought,
This might
as
just
a
be
woman, he probably wasn't like attracted to the point where you're like, yeah, give me some Jesus.
this might
But
just be my carnal nature, but I do think he was good looking.
probably, he probably was. Gosh, Jesus is
But
Sena's dream boat of dark hair, dark eyed.
but if you remember the verse we talked about earlier about man being a little lower than the angels, that is also said of Jesus. If you can go to the next slide, is it the next slide?
Sure. Just Hebrews 2:5.
Oh, there.
You want me to read it? Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Like every time I'm like, who? Okay. But we see him for a little while, was made lower than the angels, namely Jesus, crowned with glory and honor because of the suffering of death, so that by the grace of God he might taste death for everyone.
So that is the incarnation. Jesus made himself lower than. Now we know that verse is actually talking about the gods. So Jesus even lowered himself below the gods to become one of us, so that he could experience death for us.
Yep.
So that we can have everlasting life. And that is if we can bring the next slide.
Sure.
That is why Jesus says this.
John 6:20. But he said to them, "It is I. Do not be afraid."
So
Comes
no.
full circle.
This when you think about the meme, the angel meme, do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid.
Jesus tells you, do not be afraid. The reason why people were afraid to behold the angel of the Lord is because the angel of the Lord was God. And if you saw God as a sinner, if you had sin, and you saw God or the angel of the Lord, then you would die.
Yep.
But this is what Jesus did. Jesus became one of us. He became a human being. He died the death that we were supposed to die, so that now, if we accept Jesus, we can behold God. We can enter to the throne of God freely, unafraid that we won't die because of what he did. And if we read the last slide.
Sure. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
So this is the invitation that Jesus brings to everyone. Not to be afraid and to come to him and rest. And that's pretty much it. That's my take on the biblically accurate angels.
Yay! We made it. We made it to the end. You're not a heretic. It's just it's a new take. It's a take I've never heard. And I do believe that there are a lot of theologians who have very similar views.
Yeah.
So
There's one that a lot of the stuff that I have was from this guy called Michael Heiser.
okay.
He just passed away very recently, which is sad. He had cancer, but what he was trying to do is to a lot of the Old Testament has been demystified to us people in the modern day. Like we don't think the gods are real. And we've removed the spiritual realm from the Old Testament, and he wants to bring it back. Like there were multiple gods.
Interesting.
God actually there's actually a pantheon of gods that God is the head of, and then these other gods are beneath him. So we can go to that maybe some other times because this is a lot actually.
Yeah.
This is a lot. There's a pantheon that God is the head of, and there are many angels, or we call them angels, but in actuality they're also gods, which God has order
which, you
to
know, is
take care
not
of
too
humanity.
huge of a stretch.
Yeah.
So,
So obviously there's only one Yahweh. There's only one uncreated God who rules the universe. But he has also subordinate gods which he created. They were also created. And those are the creatures that we see in this biblically accurate angel meme. Wow, I'm so tiny.
yeah, I know. I'll get you. Hold on. I just switched you over. I'm like, oh, well, if we're done with the slide. There we go. But yeah, I mean, if you'd like, we can open up some questions to chat.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Big Sena, yeah. I will move myself a little. Leave space for Jesus. Oh.
Leave space for Jesus.
This is the one and only Say So stream chat will probably get from me.
No, your streams are Say So.
I guess you weren't here Saturday. That's probably for the best.
A lot of Christians say you can't drink, but
True. I was saying more like the context.
Getting drunk is something else, though.
True. Don't look. And here comes the heresy. I mean, I don't know. I think the one thing for me personally, I think the only thing that's heretical is, you know, viewing salvation as something not through Jesus Christ and not permanent. That's for me is like what I would say is heretical. That's my own personal belief. I know that gospel you view something similar.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the most important, and everything else is just kind of like doctrinal and theologies and what you can glean from the text, right? So.
Yeah, well, actually, there are many you can call them heresies that are not damnable. So
yeah.
Christianity is mainly a faith about belief. So it's not action, but belief.
Yep.
Like it's like some other religions, like for example Hinduism. If you want to reincarnate into a better being, or if you want to become a deva or something, you need to live a certain way.
Yep.
In order to get there. If you're a Buddhist, if you want to achieve nirvana, okay, there's this eightfold path you have to take. In Christianity, if you want to have eternal life, it's just one step. You just need to accept Jesus.
And it has to be like a full-on acceptance in the heart, not just like, I mean, your life should action-wise reflect that, you know. That the seed can't be planted and then bear no fruit, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what real faith brings out. If you really believe that Christ is God and that He died for your sins, then you would act on it too. But there are a lot of Christian denominations that disagree with the minor things, and those minor things are also important, but those minor things don't determine your salvation.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I think that there are going to be people who are bound to disagree, and I think that that's completely fine. We all have our own separate views on faith and belief. I don't think anyone needs to sit here and argue and chat about it. It's meant to be just an open discussion, bringing in a different perspective. So, end of stream altar call.
Religious conversations do tend to go that way.
Yeah, they do. I even in my own church growing up, I mean, my dad is a pastor, as a lot of you guys know. But he was not the pastor of my church growing up. He was actually ordained by my home pastor. And you know, they even have disagreements on doctrine, and you know, on a Wednesday night Bible study, get a little heated.
I know that.
We
have Bible study every week.
Yes,
and that tends to happen.
Yeah,
we're all friends. We're all friends. We're all saved
there. But like at the end of the day, you know, people are going to, especially because we all live and lead different walks of life, we come to different conclusions, and that's just bound to happen. So,
but it's important to realize that these are just the minor things. These are not
What
the,
if I
the
accept
major
Jesus,
things.
but I'm just a bad person? You know, I think for me, I don't think any human is quote unquote good.
That's true,
I think
and
that's
that's what
very
the Bible says.
arbitrary. So, and I think that in my own personal faith, the only damnable offense is the rejection of Christ as your savior. So
There are other things too, like for example, in John 8, where Jesus says, "Unless you believe that I am He, then you will die in your sins." So if you don't believe that Jesus is God, that can be
yes,
something
yeah,
too.
yeah. No, I think for me, I guess in my, I'm super used to just being like, okay, if you believe in Christ as your savior, obviously you believe in Him as
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
So, I guess that's my. I'll be a little more specific then.
yeah. No, you're good. You're good.
But yeah.
There are a lot of groups that claim to be Christian, but unfortunately they deny the divinity of Christ. So it's important for us to tell them that they're not saved, so that they will realize that.
Yeah, and there's going to be different sects in the Protestants and even in Catholicism that will believe differently. So,
Oh yeah, definitely Catholics and Protestants disagree on so many things.
yeah, so many things.
At least we're not killing each other nowadays over it. But there was a time when we used to kill each other over
Hello,
it.
sinners. Thanks for the fun books to call me a sinner. That is my dad's unironic favorite thing to call people. He
I also
calls
do that
everybody brother
too.
and sister sinner. Hi, brother sinner. Hi, sister sinner. Yeah.
You know, I describe myself that way too. I'm a sinner
Yeah.
saved by grace.
Yeah. 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 I've heard that quote a lot. Yeah. What up, my sinner? Yeah, pretty much.
Because really, the only difference between a Christian and a non-Christian is that we believe in Jesus Christ and we accept His sacrifice on our behalf. We're also sinners. We're not perfect.
Yep. I think that's
And
just kind of the way that, a lot of that stuff ends up being separated. It's just, works over faith, faith over
yeah,
works, works and faith. It just, and then it becomes a bit of a bloodbath. And people get angry. But I think as long as we keep in mind that, like, I'm certainly not here to go, you have to. At the end of the day, it is a free choice of yours to make. I can't force you. If God can't force you, I can't force you. So, I guess that's where I'm at, where it's just like, well, if God Himself cannot force you, then why do I feel like I can? So,
yeah,
I can tell you what I believe. I can encourage you that is how I believe, and that's why I think this, and yada yada. But at the end of the day, it has to be your own personal choice. So.
yeah. That's true. I do argue with a lot of people online, but I know that that's probably not saving them. But
Probably not.
it's probably not saving them.
Yeah, no. I've learned a thing or two just from watching my father. He is highly evangelical about things. He used to do the whole door knocking bit, going door to door and trying to proselytize people via Saturday morning, interrupting you in your boxers and coffee. You open the door and there's Sena's dad. Hey, do you want to hear about our Lord and Savior? And they're like, no. So I mean, it can be pretty abrasive. It can be pretty abrasive. So I can get that.
Yeah,
Evil Mandrake.
I
Any
tried
thoughts
to-
on Metatron? Not to be confused with Megatron.
the Metatron is it's not in the Bible. It's not in the Bible, but it is a concept. Some people think it's a some kind of angel.
I'm not familiar.
But
I'll be honest.
I don't really dive deep into Gnosticism and stuff. So
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know a lot about Gnosticism, and I really don't know a lot about the Apocrypha because mainly it's used by the Catholics, and I'm not Catholic. I was raised in a church that is staunchly anti-Catholic, so I've had to kind of deprogram myself in that regard of like, okay, well, they're still people. They're not evil human beings in us, so yeah.
yeah, I don't think I may have read the Apocrypha. I've never really studied it. I do think the study of the Apocrypha is important, but we have to realize that it's not part of the canon.
Mm-mm.
It's not inspired. Some of it is really important, like for example, the Book of Maccabees. It's a lot of historic information that is very useful when trying to understand the what the Jews were like during that time, because this is the period the Maccabees took place between the during the intertestamental period.
Mm.
So it gives you a view of what the Jews were like during Jesus' time, but it's not inspired.
Mm. I'm evil. I would say that all of man is evil since the fall. I don't. I think the issue that I take at this point in time with faith in general is the quickness to demonize other people rather than try to take a stance of education and love. So I think for me, it's kind of trying to unlearn a lot of the stuff that I was heavily indoctrinated with in my own upbringing, and realizing like, okay, we are equal. We are both, sinners, and
Yeah.
just
And
trying
that's
to get
actually what
into that.
that's actually what our church is trying to do right now. The
Mm-hmm.
the church I go to, at least, they're trying to make people nicer to other. Like they're trying to make people realize that we must let others realize that they belong before forcing them to believe.
Yes, yeah, because you can't expect a sense of belonging when you're demonizing
Yeah.
other people. I'm going preaching tomorrow. I did that too when I was a Baptist. I did it once. Yeah, I mean, as a little girl, I'd be right there standing in the background. As a woman, when you would go door knocking, you were expected to pray. So I'd just be in the background praying because, I was like probably, I don't know, 8. I was probably staring at rocks. Not
And
really paying
that's
attention, listening to people get mad at my dad. So, yeah.
and that's another thing which some people mistake about the Bible. They, like, for example, the verses about women not being allowed to talk in church.
Oh, yeah, that's a hot button issue.
That's some Christians take that
Very
as
literally. Very
literally
literally.
for us
Yes.
now,
You
something
couldn't
that we're
even be
supposed to
a
do
song
now.
leader in my church as a
Yeah.
woman. Yeah. Yeah.
But you also have to understand, like, the cultural
Yep.
situation of the
Of
times back then.
Israel. Yep.
Like like women were uneducated. So if you wanted someone speaking in the pulpit, you wanted someone
Who was
can actually,
educated. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I
But
feel like, we do see lots of examples of strong leading women in the Bible. So it's like,
yeah,
the
definitely.
Bible's
Like for
not anti-woman. So,
yeah, like the couple that Paul worked with, every time the couple is mentioned, the woman Priscilla is still, I can't even remember her husband's name because she's always
Aquila and
mentioned first.
Priscilla.
Oh, there you go.
It's
She's
one of my
she's
favorites.
she's always mentioned first. Like she was one of the first founders of the church. And actually, the message of the resurrection was given to the women first.
Yes, because they were the ones who tended to Jesus's grave. They were so intimate. Like, they were just not intimate, because that's like kind of a naughty word now, right, in that context. But they were very
Yeah.
like involved. They cared genuinely and
There's
deeply,
a
and they believed. I feel like they believed even more than some of the disciples, because we
there's
see the
actually
disciples finally believing after he was resurrected.
there's a bit of a sexist joke that we tell in church. I wonder if
Oh,
I'm allowed to
gosh.
say this.
You can, that's fine.
About the reason why Jesus appeared to the women first.
Why?
It's because Jesus knew that they couldn't keep their mouth shut.
I've heard that one.
It's because they would
I have
they would
heard that
definitely
one.
gossip it.
Oh my gosh. Nope, I've heard that one. I don't know. I've known men to be way more gossipy, but maybe I've known too many based women. My oldest and dearest friend is Jewish. The first time we met, she saw the cross I was wearing and asked what Christian subcult I belonged to. Oh gosh.
What?
Oh gosh. Just because you
Oh,
can't talk doesn't mean you're intelligent. I mean, true. Lots of people can talk and lots of people are dumb. So,
it's kind of sad how the Jews are really, or like, am I allowed to say that? The Jewish people are very isolated from Christianity.
Yeah, it's
I'm
interesting how it becomes that way. It is
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
'cause I was watching a while back a Jewish VTuber,
Mm,
and they were talking about Jesus, and they knew nothing about him, which is kind of
mm,
weird because Jesus was Jewish.
yeah. 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 There is kind of like a staunch rejection of Jesus as like even like his personhood at this point, I think, by Judaism. But I also
Yeah.
think that it's interesting. My thing has always been like, what the heck? Why is Judaism and Islam so like similar? I mean, obviously they're very dissimilar in other ways, but like just seeing like the branch off of, both being very Jacob, sons of Jacob led, and just seeing where that's branched,
Yeah.
where it's just like, oh wow, that's interesting. Like just from a theology stance, like that's really interesting. But yeah, no, I definitely really enjoy learning more about theology and learning more about people's like takes on things and how things branched from one thing into another and seeing where things are connected and
Yeah.
yeah.
When you are we allowed to talk about are we allowed to talk about Judaism?
I mean, yeah, as long as it's respectful, I don't see a reason why
But
not.
but when you think about it, there are no more Old Testament Jews anymore
No, there's not. No.
because the whole Old Testament thing revolved around the temple, and they no longer have the temple.
Yes.
So after the temple was destroyed, they had to figure something. They had to figure something else. So
I'd
that's
be willing to
that's what
argue
pretty much.
the modern Israelite is very far removed from what
Yeah.
was the Jew of Christ's time
Oh
back
yeah.
then. So,
Only there were many sects of Jews at the time, and what we have now, rabbinical Judaism, are the you can call them the descendants of the Pharisees.
boo.
So
Boo the Pharisees.
actually, I don't think bad about the Pharisees. It's-
Nah, I'd say that only because they were very like law based.
yeah,
So
yeah. Which is why Judaism is very law based right now. So
yes,
the
they
the
were
Jews that
super
the Jews
based in
that
law.
became Christianity, the Jews that became the Christianity developed the New Testament, whereas the Jews that became the Jews you have today,
Yeah.
they developed their own, the Mishnah, the Talmud, which are all just rules. It's just more rules.
Yeah.
So
The Sadducees. Yeah, I feel like the Sadducees were kind of just money launderers though in
no,
a
no, the
way.
the Sadducees are sad. The reason why they're
You
sad is
see?
because the Sadducees they were more like, they're not exactly atheists, but they took the spirituality away from the Old Testament, so
But I
they
feel
don't
like the
believe in
second the
angels.
spirituality kind
Yeah,
of leaves, a lot of more seems to go with it. So
yeah, which is why they died out, because they don't believe in angels. They don't believe in the resurrection. They removed the spirituality and just
that's why
stuck
they
to the
died.
they you don't have them around anymore. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no, I don't know. I think that's that's an interesting point though of, Christianity definitely branched from ancient Judaism,
yeah,
obviously. So,
because for the Christians, remember the Christians were all Jews at one point,
yep.
so
There
they
were
had to deal
Jews
with.
and then the Gentiles mixed in, and then
Yep.
you see that even in a lot of Paul's doctrine,
Hmm.
trying to bridge the gap, or so to speak, on, all the people joining in and all their different views on theology and just being
Yeah.
like, what's most important? Kind
So
of
when
like right
the
now.
so when during the point when the temple was destroyed, the Jews had to figure out what temple they're gonna have next, and for the Christians, Jesus became the temple. Jesus became the temple, so we no longer needed it. But for the other branch, the Pharisees, they had to figure out what to do now. There was no more temple, and they figured out that by keeping the law, they would be fulfilling what the temple is supposed to do. So which is why it's all just they just keep on making more rules, more rules.
Yep,
Which,
and that it does make sense that it is a very closed off religion at this point now, too,
yeah.
with that many rules in place. So, it's like pretty much impossible to just pick up Judaism at this point. You do have to like go through a whole process. So,
Yeah, I still find it surprised though that some people convert.
I do.
It's a
I
very
find it interesting because it
it's a very
seems very
small
hard to
amount.
happen.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Yeah, and then like I know the only synagogue in my town growing up was like completely gated off. It was like its own gated community. Like you had to be a member to go in, which I was like, oh, that doesn't feel like church to me. Like, and it's no offense to them, but it's just like, oh wow, that just doesn't feel like church to me. Where
Yeah.
I'm very much like used to church being open.
Mm-hmm.
Even mosques are pretty open. So, I mean, I grew up with a Sikh temple next door to my church.
Really?
Yep, it was right next door to the Baptist church. Very interesting. I don't think it's there anymore. But, it had a gate there just to kind of like protect the building at night, but
Yeah.
it was open during the
That makes
day. And the Sikhs, the way they practice is every Sunday morning they just have like an open meal afterwards for anyone who's there, even if they're not a member. So like
Wow.
they do a lot of community outreach of feeding the homeless and things like that. But yeah, I
That's
think
actually
that's
what our church
really cool.
does too. Like after church,
Yeah.
there's always a potluck. There's
Yeah,
always a potluck.
we had a homeless ministry in my church, and then there used to be potlucks all the time, but we never had like a separate dining place, so there would be like tables and chairs in the hallways and then the kids classrooms.
They'd rearrange the church in my place.
Essentially. We never had like a separate, so I think that's kind of why it died down. But yeah.
It went away for some time during the coup, but
Mhm.
it's back again. It's back.
But yeah, I would go there every Sunday if something like that was near my church. Yeah. Yeah. And they always had like really good meals. Like you could smell it wafting over to our church after service, and I'd be like, oh dad, I'm so hungry. Which is interesting
Unfortunately,
because I never tried Indian
yeah,
food until I went to college. And now it's
really.
like some of my favorite food of all time. It's not like tikka masala. I like chicken sag, which is like a spinach curry with chicken. This was very delicious.
I just love curry. Period.
Mhm.
There's this Indian place near to my place that we
Mhm.
do go sometimes after church.
Mhm.
If we decide to skip the potluck, because unfortunately, I
Sometimes
go
it's
to
too repetitive. They make the
no,
same stuff.
I go to a vegetarian church. I go to a
What?
vegetarian church. Yeah.
Didn't they say man can't live by bread alone? Come on now.
Some people so during potluck the general serving is vegetarian, but some people bring to their tables like meat and stuff, so they share their meat
Mhm.
with other people. But for the general, because there are a lot of vegetarians where I go in the church I attend.
Oh my
So
god.
the general meal is vegetarian, but some tables also have like chicken and stuff.
Oh, cries
If we
in
decide
Southern
if we decide
Baptist.
to,
I could not. My church would be making fun of y'all.
I'm sure they would.
So are you vegetarian then, or?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
There was a time I was vegetarian though.
I
That
ate
that did
vegetarian for
that
a
didn't
year
go well for
in
me.
college, and then vegan for 6 months. And you know what? I think I could go vegetarian for the rest of my life if I had to. But I don't
Hmm.
think I could go full vegan. I can't give up
Oh, that's
butter or
impossible.
cheese or eggs. I think I could
Even
easily go pescatarian though.
yeah,
So,
that's what I was gonna say. Even as a vegetarian, I was eating fish.
oh god, I love fish. But no, I like meat. So, as we know, I like to hunt my own meat. I like to meat. I like meat. So, I'm a barbecue gal. I like meat. No, my parents, we would go to this like big Thai restaurant after church a lot of times
Oh,
because my parents are really big fans of Thai food. and they'd always
Really?
get the same thing. Well, okay, my dad would get like they have like a catfish curry, and he'd get that. But my
Hmm.
mom would get chicken pad thai every time because she basic. But me, when I went to college, there was like a Thai place like walking distance from the campus, and I tried pretty much everything on the menu except for their duck because I was nervous that I wouldn't like it, and it was like a $20 dish, and I was like, I am not wasting $20 on something I might not like.
Wow.
But
That
yeah,
surprises me. Why would duck be more expensive than chicken? Chicken tastes so much better.
I think it's just because we were in such a smaller area that getting duck,
Duck. Oh, okay.
yeah,
That makes
yeah.
sense. That
So they
makes
kind
sense.
of had to jack up the price. But you know, they'd always tell me it was good, and I'm like, oh, you should make some for yourself and let me try a bite, because I was really good friends with the owner's kids. But yeah. Beavers
Yeah.
are also considered not meat since they live in water like fish. I'm not making this up. So at Easter, you can eat both fish and beaver. Oh, brother.
Really?
Gross.
Really? That's so weird.
Oh,
Beavers
gross.
are not meat? Wait, fish are not meat?
Because it lives in the water, does that mean otters aren't meat? Oh my gosh. Ew. Ew. I don't know. I know Fish Friday is pretty popular in like I guess the more Catholic populated areas.
Oh, so they don't eat meat on Friday?
They don't. Yeah, so like during the whole like Easter season, they
Oh, just
observe
during
Lent.
Easter. Okay, I thought
Yeah,
every Friday.
and
I
then
thought
every
every
Friday
Friday.
it's like only fish. It's for Lent.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah. I remember the first time I was in college, and Ash Wednesday or Ash Friday. The Ash Day
Huh.
came. Sorry. The Ash Day came, and like I guess they go to the church and they get like an ash cross painted on their forehead by their
Uh-huh.
bishop, I think, or what they called. And I just remember when I saw it, Ash Wednesday. Okay, I wasn't sure. Sorry. When I first saw it, I was like walking around and everybody had like ash crosses on their forehead, and I was like, "What am I looking at?" And I thought there was like a weird cult or like some weird festival going on in the town itself. I was like, this is like Silence of the Lambs. Am I gonna get killed for not having this on my forehead? And then someone's like, no, Sena, it's Catholics. And I was like, what? Why would they do that? And so then I, looked into it and I was like, oh, okay. A little different, but cool, whatever. But I just remember seeing it and just being like, what? So, like, there is something cool, like, that they do, I guess. I don't know if cool is the right word. But, like, they just do a bunch of somewhat random for me because I'm not
Yeah,
used to it. The stuff
I
during Easter season that I'm just like, oh,
I
this is
grew up with
different.
a lot of Catholics. It was
Gotcha.
a very Catholic place I grew up in, and
Gotcha.
it's very weird because I can see the difference between the Catholics here and the
Mm-mm.
country where I grew up in.
Mm-mm.
Because I Catholicism is kind of what's the word, ecumenical, like it kind of, no, is it syncretic or something? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It does kind of merge with the culture.
Oh, it's syncretic, yeah.
Yeah, there, that's the word. It kind of does merge with the culture. So where I grew up, there were a lot of, originally there were a lot of pagans that lived where I grew up. So so where the place now, they have lots of idols of, like, every house. You can have an idol of Mary here beside an idol of Buddha. a lot of a lot of a lot of a lot of stores are like that. Like the owner
Yeah.
of the store,
Yeah.
they want to get the most blessings, so they have a statue of Mary over here
Yeah.
beside Buddha, so they
Yep.
get the most blessings.
So, I mean, for idol does not equal icon.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
wrong
you're
word.
fine. It's fine. Simmer down, guys. Okay, so
Statue or whatever.
yes, in a lot of Latin American countries, there's like the syncretic religions of Catholicism mixing with like paganism, right? Where like there's
Uh-huh.
even the Santeria, right? Oh gosh, okay. I gotta double
Oh
check.
yeah.
Santeria, where they like sacrifice a lamb. I believe
that's that Saint Death Santa Muerte or something. Is that still Catholic or no?
Well, and then like even in Africa they'll do that where they will assign the saints to also like other spiritual like voodoo gods or like
voodoo, that's it.
Yes, okay. Where they will assign it to those spirits and they will have different names and like potentially they even did that to kind of hide within their own faith. Would name it all these different names, call it all these different names behind the white man's back, right? So that way they could continue to practice their faith in secret.
Huh.
Which is how it became like syncretic. So it's interesting to see how different cultures kind of like kind of meshed things together to make something completely different from both faiths. So
yeah, because when I've visited Catholics here, I find surprising they don't have statues and stuff. But there, where I lived before, like every house, they have to have like statues and stuff.
Yeah, a church I know was vandalized by Santeria. Yeah, I don't know. I went to school with a girl who, we took the same religion theology courses together, and her dad owns like a mystical shop in like Texas, I believe, and he's like half Mexican, half Salvadorian, and he would get like random people who would come in for Santeria related stuff to the point where like he had to like just stop selling anything related to it because like they would just be very scary about it. And she was like, anytime it was talked about, she'd be like, this is actually kind of scary. But Santa Muerte is a popular folk saint. Santa Muerte is an unofficial Catholic saint denounced by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know my saints
because
once again, I'm just not familiar, and I don't think I really need to be, because it's just not the way I believe. So, but yeah.
Where I grew up, some people even crucify themselves.
What?
Yeah, they flagellate. You know what self-flagellation is?
Yes, I know what flagellation is. Yeah.
They do that. It's an event.
Oh Lord.
they still.
Yeah, in the Bible Belt, they have people who do the snakes and the people who.
Oh yeah. You're
healed, and you're like flopping all over the ground. In a lot of certain groups of churches, people will do the "I'm possessed by the spirit" and like dudes start jumping and screaming. You have people who speak in tongues, and it just sounds like.
I've been into one of those churches before.
You know what? If you don't grow up around it, it is very uncanny. I can say that. Yeah, when you don't grow up with it, it feels extremely uncomfortable.
And the pastor was going around knocking people's heads. I snuck off to the bathroom to avoid it.
Yeah, like when I went, my mom came to visit me out where I live now, and this was the church I had been going to because I didn't hear anyone speaking tongues at that time, and it was like, I had made a friend there, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be going here for now until I find something better because this is what's closest to me and has the best timing, yada yada. And everything had been fine. I know how I believe, and they were very welcoming, very nice. The worship hour was nice. They had a missionary the day my mom visited. And what does he start doing but hemming and hollering, jumping around in circles, comes up to my little brother and is like, "You young man, yes, you, come to the front." And he's like, "I want you to repeat after me," and made him speak tongues in front of everyone. And I'm just mortified. Like, I'm going to drive into a tree after this. Oh my gosh, my mom's going to think I am like insane. So we leave and she's like, "You don't?" I was like, "No, I don't. And I'm never going back." And she was like, "Okay. All right, cool." And I'm like, "Yeah." Oh gosh. So I was like, "Why would you embarrass me like that? You guys were doing so good." But like, yeah, and suffice it to say, like, I didn't go back. The pastor called me. He's like, "Sena, we've been missing you." And I'm like, "Yeah, here's the issue. That spooked me out, me and my family, and I'm not trying to get disowned here, so I'll see y'all on the flip side. I'll be praying."
So did your brother end up speaking in tongues?
Yeah, he did. He was really nervous. He looked scared. He kind of looked like he was about to cry, and I was about to cry with him. And he was like, He was like, say that you're sanctified. He's like, I'm sanctified. He's like, say that you believe. He's like, I believe. He said, say it with conviction. And it was like a whole thing. And I was like
he was peer pressured into it.
Yeah, my mom's just like clutching her pearls type deal of just like, my heavens, you know. So, you know, afterwards I'm like, all right, who wants Olive Garden? So,
you know, I was actually scared when that happened, and I went into the bathroom and started texting my friends like, these people are possessed. I don't think they were. Looking back now, I don't think they were.
When you grow up with it, I just feel like it probably is just so normal, you know?
Yeah.
And
I don't think they're sincere.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of them are pretty sincere in it, and I think, you know, the Bible's clear that, you know, when there are no words, God still understands. So I like to think that, you know, if their hearts were there, he knew what the heck they were saying, because I did not. Them just going blah, 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 blah. And it really did. Some of them sounded like that. It just like sounded like when I'm like, I don't know what to, I'm so sorry, but I do not know what I'm hearing, and I don't think I like it. So
it's different with everyone. Like I have there are people I know that speak in tongues, and every one of them have a unique. You start to recognize their.
You do, yeah. Everybody has their own unique tongue.
Yeah.
Tongues is just a misunderstanding of speaking in different languages. Yeah, that's how my my church believes it, and honestly, I believe it.
That's what I believe too, and I've talked to them about it, but
yeah,
it can get heated even sometimes. But, you know, it's again one of the minor things. It's not. It's
Sena,
just a minor.
Can you give us an example of speaking in tongues? I didn't quite catch that. Shut the fuck up, Juwun. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, you brought it out in me.
That was the tongue. That was the tongue.
Okay, all right. Blah, 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 blah. There you go.
Usually it sounds like a shamala.
I think the one I heard, the last one, the guy was going a mini babble. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. The last one I heard was the guy. He was going, hey, and he was like going super fast though, like he was like auctioning his life away. And I have one and a two. It was like that.
They do sound like they're speaking in tongues too, though.
A little bit.
I can't make out what they're saying, but that's crazy. You know.
Was he called
never
Mario?
Mind.
No.
My pastor does exactly what gospel did. I do tend to joke with my charismatic friends. They don't find it funny, but
no, they never do. They can't take it as a joke when you start going, oh, they're like, how dare you? How dare you? I am speaking to the Lord. I'm like, yeah, I do too when I pray. I do too. I can literally just go, thank you, Lord. He hears me. I don't need to go, like, I don't know. I also think that a form of worship can be through singing. So it's just like, I got that. I got my own actual real life words. Why do I need extras? So, Evil Mandrake, welcome to the Build-A-Bears. Thanks. But yeah, I don't know.
I do listen to a pastor that speaks in tongues. Or is he a pastor? I don't know. But it's a YouTube channel. But he says a lot of interesting stuff. But I disagree with him on a lot of them. But I still listen to him because it's very nice.
Oh yeah, it's good to like get the kind of full wheel of perspective there. I think that that's actually pretty healthy as a Christian, is to kind of learn more about what other sects of the faith believe, and also learning, you know, where other people are coming from in their faith. I think that is actually, it could do one of two things. It can help, you know, solidify your own faith, and it can help open your mind to something you might not have ever thought of. Which
that's
in turn
true.
Could, you know, draw you closer to the Lord. So
yeah. There's this thing in Christianity called Calvinism. I don't really
Yeah.
agree with it, but I learned a lot of stuff listening to Calvinist preachers.
Oh.
I follow a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot to be gleaned and a lot to go, what? Yeah, no. There is a lot to learn. I think there's a lot to learn from most of them. There are some that are just, I do personally think are a little too wackadoodle and a little too non-Christian, even with the Christian name attached, that I'm like, yeah, no. So.
Yeah, a lot of Christians get a bad rap just from a small church or something. Like,
True.
A minority of a minority does something weird,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
all of Christianity
You grow up Baptist, you get told, if anyone ever says Westboro, you gotta be like, no! So, yeah. And I would not be willing to say that Westboro is actually Baptist at all. That is very different.
Yeah, and it's just one church. It's just one small church with few members.
Yeah, it's a very small church. Thankfully. Thankfully. I'm hoping it fades into obscurity and ceases. Westboro Baptist is literally one family. Yeah.
And they're that way because of Calvinism too. But not that Calvinism, not all Calvinists are like that.
True. I mean, Mormonism came directly out of Baptists, so.
Mormonism.
Joseph Smith was originally a Baptist.
Oh yeah. But I don't think Mormons. Unfortunately, Mormons aren't Christian.
I don't think they are either. Yeah, no, I don't think they are.
But they do try to sound like they're Christian.
Yeah, they do. I feel like they like to breed a spirit of confusion, I think. A little bit. But yeah, I think that this might be a good place to wrap up. What do you think? Yeah,
sounds good.
Okay.
All right. It's been 2 hours. Amazing.
We made it. Okay. Well, thank you for coming. And thank you for, sharing your ideas and your theology with us, and,
no problem.
Building your case.
I hope someone was converted, maybe. Joke. Just kidding. Not to Christianity, but to my thesis about biblically accurate angels.
I think I might do some of my own research, and I don't know. Some of it definitely has me thinking.
That's good.
Yeah. Other things I'm like, but no, the eyeballs. But, a lot of it was very concise and very logical, so yeah.
All right.
Say farewell to chat. Remember that this is gospel.
Yep. That's me.
And yeah.
All right. Well, Godspeed, guys. Gospel to the geek. Gospel here. God.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And we'll get this closed out as well. Okay. Wow. All right. That definitely was gospel, and absolutely nobody else that you guys obviously didn't recognize as anybody else. Okay. Let's lock these layers so I can move myself up. I didn't lock mine. Let me move up. Okay. Alright. This has been really fun. Very interesting. Very insightful. There was a lot of scripture to try and reference from and to look into. Obviously, when you're raised in a very specific way, these kinds of ideas and different looks are gonna be like hard to chew. But learning and hearing other people's perspectives is really important, and it's a good way to grow as your own. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely liked a lot of this. It was very well done, very thorough. I don't know if I'm fully converted. It is hard to let go of what you are so, used to. But yeah, it is. It's been fun. When I reached out to him for the stream, I was like, I really want to hear your perspectives on these things, because there are some perspectives I've never gotten to acquaint myself with. Certainly never gotten to pick anyone's brain about this kind of thing because, I was very sheltered in my own faith growing up. Was kind of like not allowed to look outside of it and see what others had to say about it. And so it's kind of fun to learn these things. An open mind is like a fortress with its gates unbarred and unguarded. You know what? I like to think that because I am in God's hand, nobody can pluck me out. And that is my caveat to that. I'm not saying to keep an open mind. I'm saying, if you hear something, you can't just be like, no. It's okay to just hear what has to be said, and then if you disagree, move on. It's kind of that simple dimple, guys. If you don't agree, you just move on. So, yeah. Yeah, I look at Christianity from a secular perspective, so I want to hear the perspectives of religious individuals. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. No clue who that was. Don't even remember what we were doing here. But, yeah. No. But, yeah. How you doing? I'd like to talk about religion with someone, but it's a sensitive subject, so it's hard to find people. I agree. I think it is a very hard field to enter into and to talk to other people, because you're going to find people who don't agree word for word, and you're going to find people who don't agree even doctrinally. And it's good to be able to have these conversations. My sergeant tells me that disagreements can only be solved with bolter fire. Okay. You have been burst by it tonight, Saw. Got my eye on you. But yeah, this was an interesting stream. I'm glad it was. As I said, I'm not like really trying to convince anybody. It's just meant to be a forum or a discussion. So take it as a lecture. But yeah. Eternity is a heavy thing to discuss. Yeah, it is. And when you try to discuss it in that context, it becomes, a lot harsher and a little scary. Yeah, it sucks that you can't talk about these things. Yeah, I agree. But, it happens. Do you partake in the predestination argument? I don't know. I don't know. I don't take a part of a lot of Calvinistic ideations, but I also feel like I admittedly am kind of rusty. I have been kind of like a wandering nomad trying to find a church that I feel fits for me. And I've kind of given up for now because I've tried everything in my area and not found something. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But I haven't really found anything. So for me, when I don't have something physically present, I end up kind of losing it. So I haven't been up on things the way I should be. So now you are the church. I don't know. I haven't been doing as much studying as I would like, and I think it's hard to do studying by yourself. I have never been one to enjoy solo studying. So, yeah. And it's hard for me to just pray at home now. Oh, yeah. No, I pray daily, actually. Or at least try to. But I pray daily, usually. At the beginning of my day, I usually pray. I pray on my way to work, because I'll be scared. I have a lot of anxiety, so I pray a lot. Sometimes I think I go like a day without, but yeah, her church is built on fertile lands. Alright, simmer down. Sena, you should read the writings of the first Christians. Start from the beginning, it can't hurt. Yeah, I've read my Bible front to back at least, 5 times now? 5? Yeah. I am, unlike gospel, I am a bigger fan of the New Testament, but I also feel like, that is more written for, I'll disagree with him. I think that the Newer Testament is definitely written for the modern day Christian. which is why I like it. Not to say I don't read the Old Testament or like it, I absolutely do. I think it is a good way to verify prophecies that absolutely occur in the New Testament, and I think it is a good historical context. But, you know, I like the New Testament because that's where Jesus is. Ayo. But yeah, a lot of people didn't do that these days. I have anxiety too. I'll be praying for you. Thanks. Yeah. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because it's something I was very heavily raised with, to not like seek out medication, but I did eventually have to, just because it became too much of a burden where I was not able to live my life. So without, you know, like having a breakdown, and I was having full on like paralyzing breakdowns, like maybe even once daily, where I was just like, I couldn't breathe, and no amount of praying or meditation or Bible reading or attending church would just do that. It would not stop. I think that I was just like super overwhelmed with stress. I've always had a lot of really bad stress. I internalize, you know, like wanting to be perfect a little too hard, and you know, it manifests itself in really awful ways for me. And so, you know, I would just full on break down all the time. Yeah, my brain was overloaded, and it's a physical thing. Yeah, it kind of is. So yeah, I am on medicine to help kind of navigate that, because it's just tough. I pray my mods list won't make my game crash, and it never works, so it's over. I have to deconvert now. Yeah, no. I think the way I was raised, you know, and I believe it as well, is that, you know, prayer is a conversation. It does not necessarily mean it will be yes. It does not necessarily mean it will be no. Sometimes it's wait. Sometimes it's, hey, we gave you a brain, use it. If you need help, then seek it. So, yeah. Before my entrance comment, hope you're doing all right. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm doing a lot better. Yeah. There are days where the medication itself isn't working fast enough, and I do have like a full-on anxiety attack, which like is few and far in between, admittedly, but I did have one recently. I had one last night, actually. I literally it hit me like a wave. And the best way I can describe it is just like out of nowhere. All of a sudden, I'm just like overwhelmed. My hands are sweating. I'm sweating. I start to get a really tight, like, chest feeling and like a sense of doom. Like everything is ending. My vision becomes like black and tunneled, until the point where I don't see anything, even if my eyes are wide open, and I am just ragged, heavy breathing and sobbing violently until I can finally take very shaky breaths until it's like finally done. So I don't know. I just struggle. I think I have a lot of trauma. I have a lot of childhood trauma, and you know, it's hard to process that. So yeah. Yeah, it's a little sad. But you know, sleep paralysis. I've never had full-on sleep paralysis, and I am very happy I haven't. Do your anxiety attacks ever cause you itching to get hot all over? That's how they manifest with me most of the time. Yeah, I do get like super overheated. I don't know if itching has ever happened. I have had 2 seizures in my life due to like full-on water dehydration along with anxiety, where I went into I was at church camp once when it happened. I went into full-blown panic attack, and then I guess my mom freaked out because I could not stop spasming and I blacked out. So drink my damn water. Yes, I push about a gallon every day now. The last seizure happened in college, scared me to death, and now I am a waterphile. So yeah, I'm sure there's like an actual term for that, but it just sounded funnier. It's horrible. Yeah. Now you know why I'm like, drink water. And people are like, no. And I'm like, no, trust me, you can have like a seizure. That's not fun. A dehydration seizure? Not fun. So, the machine renders its vulnerability on my poor laptop. Oh, well, if you're gaming on a laptop, then that's part of the issue. It will go kaput. Don't drink water. Okay. Oh my gosh. But, there's someone debuting at 11 that I wanted to raid into, but I guess I won't have... I guess I won't have the time. I mean, you guys could sit in their chat, I guess. Sena, why you bully me? Because I bully everybody. Get used to it, punk. For all these new faces. There are a lot of new faces, huh? Welcome, welcome. Hello. Thank you for clicking on. Not all my content is biblically biblically adjacent. You know, if you're looking for a wholesome streamer, I'm probably not the right one. If you're looking for a face to Christianity, I'm probably not the right one. I curse a lot and I do some weird streams. So yeah, raid the waiting room. Okay. Silly Sena bully bonbon. Yeah, Sena is wholesome. Thanks, Daz. Thanks. Dehydration seizure? Anything to break up the doldrums? Yeah, I don't know. Biblically accurate VTuber. Yes, biblically accurate Sena bonbon. Sena streams are a good time. I think it is. Did I ever finish Silent Hill? No, I haven't. Here's the thing. The last time I played, I actually had a panic attack after stream. The horror and the existential dread of the game itself and the sound effects actually got to me, and I was shaky and sweaty. Yeah, I was actually kind of sad to not, like, yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I still want to return to it though, so, you know, pop a boost baron and go back to it. The horror too good. Yeah. So I'm hoping to yeah, that soundtrack. The soundtrack is what got to me. A lot of times, like, my flavor of Pipkin, I just, like, can't handle textures, but I also can't handle, like, sounds sometimes where, like, I just get really overwhelmed by audio. And, like, there's, like, certain music even that, like, if it's too dissonant and has too many, like, awkward random noises coming in, like, it kind of freaks me out. Like, yeah. Sometimes it just, I don't know, it spooks me. Flavor of Pipkin. Yeah. It's what I shall call it. I can prove it too, Sena. You promised the Kingdom Hearts marathon. I need it. The Kino reserves are dry. I would love to. I would love to. I think we're gonna pick up Paper Mario again this week, and try to finish it. I'd like to just get it out of the way. But I feel like wherever we end up might just be where we end for this next Mario stream. Because while it is my favorite game, like, I feel like I get too into it and then I just want to play it. And, you know, I feel like streams can go too long and I get silent and I'm like, I just want to finish the game. Ah. So, I don't know. I like doom metal, so I like scary sounds. Yeah. I feel like anything that's, like, creates a sense of dread is I don't know. Sena's a lousy bully. Wait, I saw that. Fuck you, Jason. I hate reading your name, Jason. I'm so sorry. I had an uncle named Jason, and he cheated on my aunt, and now I hate all Jasons. I'm sorry. It's not personal. I just hate your name. I have the Pipkin and PTSD, and I enjoy my meds that help keep me a functional adult. The PTSD, yeah. Aw, at Jason Rip. I read your poor sad message and now I say I hate you. I'm so sorry. That blows, but I'm not that Jason. Good. Because that would make you, like, in your 50s. And I'd be like, why are you watching VTubers in your 50s? Get a wife, noob! Oh. But, yeah, let's think about wrapping this up. I'm getting, like, distracted. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to stop it. I like doing this. I almost said I love you guys. Oh, gross. That's fucking gross. Yuck! Okay, hold on. Okay, we can either raid into that or let's see. I mean, Leola's live doing zombie tier list. How do you do a zombie tier list, Leola? My wife is no longer live because Uzi is on a 3-week break. She has some sort of issues going on with her family, so I really hope everything sorts itself out because she just was on a break and I don't know, I'm nervous. I just want her to be okay, so I'm hoping she's okay. Or at least will be okay. But don't remind me, I miss Woozy so much. Not as much as I do. I feel like we just got her back. But no, I'm really I really hope everything's okay with her family. Because from what I last heard, it could be pretty big. So, yeah. Who was debuting that I'm referring to? Shoot, I had the name. Triple Q. They're debuting a model. They do like a lot of anime edits, and now they're debuting as like a VTuber potentially, and I'm like interested to see what the heck that is. What happened? Sorry, I missed it. Just that Woozy is Woozy Wanai from My Hollow is my wife, but also my streamer friend, and you know, she's not doing great, so just kind of worried. She's on like a 3-week break, so I can raid Lolime, but I think he might have. Is he still live? I think he might have his raids turned off. I doubt he's live. Pippa's live. There's no way. Is he live? Oh no, I'll keep her in my prayers. Yeah. Oh, he starts at 10:30. Let me check. He starts at 10:30. Let me check the FlaVR schedule. Oh, okay. He starts at 10:30. He starts at 10:30. I can hold you hostage for till 10:30. Let's do Lolime.
Lolime, it's me, Dr. Lolime.
Am I cute, woo? Nail art. Oh, he's doing his nail art stream. Okay, you guys have to watch this. For those of you who don't know who Lolime is, we I didn't realize I was late. Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna go for I think another 8 minutes for those of you who want to stick around for a sec. I will be raiding into Lolime, and mainly because his last couple streams have been so fucking funny, you guys. So he did a dog shock collar the other day, like at a random ass hour, and by killing him on stream, like in Minecraft, I was killing him on Minecraft, he'd have to tase himself. So obviously, being, you know, a good gen mate and helping him create better content, I killed him over and over and over again on Minecraft. So he'd have to tase himself. For all of you viewers. The masochist stream, yes. Nails are tomorrow, I think. Showing temper round in Minecraft today. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me double check then. Lolime. This is set up for the 15th at 3 p.m. That's a random hour. I'm gonna be at work. I want to watch it. What the fuck? Okay, you're right. It is temp on Minecraft. Ooh! Server with temp. Oh, he's gonna win Minecraft cribs. He's male, but he's a good boy, so it's fine. Yes, oh yeah, he is a guy. But, I don't know. I feel like when I watch him, it just makes me think of, like, PewDiePie or something. He's very funny. I mean, he is behind an anime girl, which is a little sassy. But can you blame him? The design is so cute. So, I don't know. We have, in Gen 1 of FlaVR, we have, I think, just 2 girls, right? Well, no, 3 if you count Kinaline. God rest her soul. She's not dead. She's just in Japan. I miss her a lot though. So we have Kino, and then me, and then Minna, and then you have Rikka, man. Donna, who's now being run by Donut, which is man. And then Lolime, which is man. He's funny and cute. What was the word for that? Shut up. What kind of barbecue is this? Only 2 grills? Okay, let's... we got 5 minutes. I guess we can do some scuff karaoke. Let's do some altar calls. There's more girls in FlaVR. Yeah, there are more girls than there are guys. Although, is that true? Because we have an entire impreg branch, and we got multiple guys who stream. I said it before. I think that as long as you stream, then you're FlaVR. Oh, and if you're AI made. You know, I think those are the 2, like, you're made by an AI, at least your original concept, and then you stream. And not just like, you know, a one-off, but you actually consistently stream. Then you're FlaVR. I think that's the way it works. Because, like, we have another guy who I would say is, like, official, unofficial, who's been streaming since, like, I debuted. And that's Trobe. And he's, like, a pretty big community member. Like, he was in the 5K video. So, and then we have Soren, he streams. And we have all the other girls who stream. So, yeah, I think as long as you stream, there's more flavors popping up every day. So, yeah. It's kind of like the nice thing about it being open source is that, like, more and more people can join and see if it sticks. And as long as they continue to stream, they're still FlaVR. So,
It's really that easy. No audition needed.
I want Grug to stream and it's just him sitting next to a fire grunting. Oh my god, that'd be so good. That'd be so good. I would literally go to every stream and just type in chat,
Unga, ooh, oof, unga boonga, booga, unga.
just unga, go. He says something, you agree, you're just like, go. you imagine? Okay, a song. That sounds amazing, Space Monkey. Ooga. Yes, the Grugrilla stream. I don't think you'd ever be able to convince him. He's like weirdly shy. He's weirdly shy. Plus you'd have to work with EU time, which is lit. Dakimakata with an Uncle Ted. Oh, brother. I did convince him to grunt. Yeah, it was great. Oh my gosh. I should just make everybody watch that video again rather than sing. I'm stalling. Can you tell? Okay. Sing. And I guess we'll sing a Christian song to like keep it on theme. Ha 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 ha. Ato. Weeb words. What do I wanna? Amazing grace. Oh, I know. We're gonna sing a song that I am very familiar with. Okay, now, hold on. Instrumental. We're gonna be Southern today. Let's see if they got a banjo instrumental. Hold on, let me mute this real quick. Make sure he ain't singing. He's only playing the chorus. I'm glad I clicked. Alright, hold on. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Why did it do that? Hold on, sorry. Okay. Let's see. Charlie Daniels. karaoke. She remembered you, Trobe. Miliardo. Miliardo's another guy who streams, and he's married to Minna. Woo! Here we go. Is this just instrumental? Okay, hold on. Let me get the lyrics up because I don't mess it up. And then we will end the stream. So let me... Yeah. You won't get an end screen. You'll just watch my model bounce around to it. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here we go. Some good morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial star. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I'll fly away to a land where joy shall never end. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. Yeah, when I die. Hallelujah, by and by. I'll fly away. This was one of my favorite hymns. Yes, me too. I really like it. Okay. Jesus, I feel like I'm gonna start like going full ham. I actually really like this one. La 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 la. I think that's good. I think that's good. That's probably good, right? Ah. You got a nice voice, honestly, really cool. Oh, thanks. I think that was like too fast. It was like too short. Oh gosh, what's another one? What's another one that I really like? Do Lord, oh do remember me. There's that one. There's, oh gosh. I used to have a songbook in the back of my car that I took. My pastor let me take it. Because I really like it. Let me think. Oh my gosh. What would my uncle be trying to tell me to sing? Oh, and there's that one song. What is it? Here.
Baptist hymns.
That'll help. What is the most popular Baptist hymns? I don't know any of those. You lying. You're lying. You're lying. That ain't it. It is well. It is well with my soul. With my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I don't. This is the thing. When I started singing these songs, I just rabbit hole and I like end up singing like an entire songbook. Then I'm like, I feel cleansed. Redeemed. Let's see. Holy is the Lord. To the work, more about Jesus. More about Jesus. Count your blessings. Ooh, I like that one. Tempted us when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost. Count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God hath done. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. This is a good one. Ooh, this is a good one. Ooh. Okay. I like this one a lot. Okay, this will be the last one. I like this one. Okay. Karaoke. This is a really good one. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry. From the waters lifted me, now safe am I. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. Oh, my heart to him I give, ever to him I'll cling. In his presence lives, ever his praises sing. Love so mighty and so true merits his soul's best song. Faithful, loving service to him belongs. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. Souls in danger, look above. Jesus completely saves. He will lift you by his love out of the angry waves. He's the master of the sea, billows his will obey. He, your Savior, wants to be saved today. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. Okay, bye. Good night. Enjoy the DJ that is Lolime. Goodbye.